Welcome to the No Clue Podcast, episode 182, I believe. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Tyler.
I'm Mike.
We are here. We have just...
Yes, the series has shifted.
Yes, it has. It absolutely has. So we talked after game 3, right? It was 2-1.
Yeah.
Okay. So game 4, we'll start with game 4, then we'll get into game 5, obviously. So what were you thinking after game 3? Going into game 4, I mean, we're not going to go back to our own podcast, but what in your mind were you thinking?
I thought I was nervous about how Golden State was going to deal with Boston's athleticism.
Okay.
I thought as the series would go on, Boston would have more and more of those like little play opportunities. The size rebounds, the transition speed, the defensive speed.
Yeah.
But Golden State didn't overreact to any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And instead they've adjusted and fixed their own problems.
Yeah, big time.
And that's why they've played better starting
and there
with
were
this
problems.
Game. Right.
Say that last part again.
It started with this game, I thought.
Yeah.
They didn't put themselves in positions to lose like they did in the other games.
Right. Okay. So, you want to go like throughout this game or just talk about it overall and then go more in depth in the next game?
We could talk about it overall.
Okay. Steph, 43 points.
Yes.
The
biggest highlight of the day for sure.
Yeah, Golden State takes the win. Interesting box score for this game all around, aside from Steph having 43. It's just a few curious points. Wiggins had 16 rebounds, which is not only his career high, but the highest a Warrior has gotten in the playoffs since the 60s. I think Steph, who had a really good assist game, Draymond had 8 assists in this game, 9 rebounds also. Steph had 10 rebounds. Was this aside? I mean, obviously the 43 points was huge, but do you think this was a dominating performance for the Warriors?
No.
Just looking at their stats.
Maybe stat wise, you could say they played like up to their potential.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, but like in terms of Wiggins standing out as a rebounder, I mean, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
That's a shocker. Yeah. That's kind of what happened in game 1 with Al Horford just not missing.
Right. Yeah. But, well, we'll get into it later, but looking at it now, it's not so much of a shocker because he could do it again. Had another really good rebounding game after this. But overall in this game, what did you think of the Celtics?
I thought they proved that they're very close to being as good as the Warriors.
So you don't think they're as good as the Warriors now? Really, because before this game, I mean, I would say you're more saying that the Warriors prove that they're better than the Celtics.
Yes.
But earlier in the series, you might have felt differently.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So go ahead.
It was very important to me that both teams finally played well.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought both teams played well on both ends at times. I thought even the guys who didn't have good games specifically made big shots.
Mm-hmm.
like this was the game where we really got to see what the little things are that separate these two teams.
I would agree. And I don't know if, I mean, obviously guys could have scored a few more points, but overall, I'm not sure if the Celtics have a much better game than game 3. No, what is this? Game 4.
For
Game 4. Yeah. I mean, you got 12 rebounds from Robert Williams. You got block shots. Tatum had a pretty good shooting night. 35% from the field, but he had 23. Brown had 21. Obviously, Tatum is capable of getting 40. Brown's capable of getting 40, but they rarely do that on the same night. I mean, throughout the season. Smart had 18. White had 16. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you didn't get a lot out of Horford, out of Grant Williams, but the fact that White had 16 is only, so many shots that can go around, I think they played a really, really good game, to your point. I do. I think they played close to as good as they can play.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Boston because a lot of the things that have caused them to lose games, that really wasn't why they lost this one. Like I thought they kept composure. They didn't get too into some of the bad habits.
Yeah.
I thought they, like, every time they'd get in trouble, they'd play through the team. Guys would get involved. They wouldn't just be, come down, one person takes a shot.
Yeah.
Again, when this was going back and forth from like the mid third to the late fourth quarter, Boston was right there, toe to toe.
Yeah. Yep.
And it wasn't just Tatum, wasn't just Brown or Smart. It was the whole team.
The whole team played well. Yeah. Yeah. And see, and this game more than the most recent game was why I was never too worried about the Warriors to the point where, like, I thought, last podcast I mentioned how I think they should have won definitely game 1. And they, I think they got beat. What was it? They lost game 2 or 3. They lost game 3.
Game 1 and 3.
Yeah. Yeah. 1, I think they should have won. And 3, I think they just got beat. And that happens. But I never felt that Golden State was, lesser than this team. I just thought they're not all the way there. A lot of turnovers. They're not clicking. Steph hasn't gotten his shots. Clay was shooting horrible. Poole was non-existent for the first few games. But this game, game 4, I really think they put it together in a big way. And they really didn't get a best game out of Porter or Draymond, even though they came out with that interesting starting lineup. And they played a lot of minutes, and they both played bad.
I want to focus on Golden State's supporting cast more from this last game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because they really shined in this most recent game.
Right. Right.
But this game, and I told you this game to me came down to Steph. By far, in my opinion, the best finals game he's ever had.
I would agree.
I mean,
I don't think it's a hot take.
And the reason why when Steph takes control and shoots it really well, it has so much more impact than when Brown or Tatum do it. Yeah. It's because he could do it exclusively off the team.
And he doesn't need to play one-on-one to do it either. Right. So, yeah, same point. Yeah. Those guys have to play one-on-one to play well.
Right.
Yeah.
And they constantly settle and fall back to that.
Yep. And the team never gets more open. Like the rest of the team never gets more open from Brown getting off.
Exactly. And their role players do a good job of, like, they kind of know that rhythm. But Golden State doesn't force their role players to go through that.
No, they don't.
That's why the athleticism impact has evened out. It's the IQ. That's where the Warriors now are elevating and taking control of the series.
Right. Yep.
But they don't get to do that if Steph's heroics don't take over that game.
I agree. And the thing is, I don't think Steph had to have 40, but he had to have a good game. He definitely had to have a good game.
Yeah, he had to be the nuclear threat on the court.
Yeah. Yep.
And he really hadn't been up to that point in the series.
And the thing is, he hasn't had to, but being down, he did have to. But other games, he hasn't necessarily had to have a great game. Some other guys, if Clay had made 2 more threes than he had been missing in the rest of these games, they're completely different games. If he had just shot a little bit better, it didn't have to be Steph. But this game down had to be Steph. Yeah. Yep. Okay. You want to go any further into this game? Or move on to the next game.
No, man, this is a good game.
Really good game. This has been a very satisfying finals to me. I have no complaints about this finals. It's been fun to watch. Obviously it's not over, but so far it's been really fun to watch. More fun than I can remember in the past, for sure.
And you know what it is? It kind of breaks the NBA stereotype of we need like a top 3 player in the finals. Right. Now, Steph is obviously a GOAT, but like you don't need Giannis specifically in the final. You don't need Embiid or Kawhi or any of these guys.
Well, I think the greater point that you're making is you don't need a top 5 matchup in the finals. You don't need a head-to-head LeBron versus Giannis, Durant versus. You don't need that kind of versus. This is just a versus of 2 really, really good teams.
Two of the best teams.
Yeah.
Probably the 2 best teams.
And that's the thing. This is the 2 best teams made it to the finals, opposed to oftentimes it's, we're always worried about if the best player is going to make it to the finals, or if are the best player in the West and the best player in the East going to collide. It doesn't always happen that way. It doesn't have to have good games.
Yeah.
So, game 5. So we're coming into this game 2-2. Boston lost second game at home, which was dangerous. I thought that was really dangerous because here we are now heading back to the Bay with not necessarily momentum, but having not won 2 games in a row in this series, no one winning 2 games in a row. Both these teams they haven't lost 2 games in a row the whole playoffs, either team, right?
No, not a single time.
Right. So it was a little interesting coming into this game because you think, oh, Boston's going to bounce back, just like they have been. But we're going to the Chase Center for the Warriors.
And you know what was a telling sign? I don't remember where I saw the stat, but Golden State had a historic winning margin from games after losses.
Okay.
So Boston was, responding, getting wins. Golden State was destroying teams.
Right.
So especially like you said, going back home with momentum.
Yeah.
You're in a tough spot.
Right. So here we are. Obviously, spoiler alert, Golden State won this game. Tell me about the Celtics in this game.
They overreacted. Four
and I
games
mentioned this. I mentioned this to you off mic. If they double Steph, they are going to have a long night. And they did.
That's exactly what. Now I understand that he went nuclear, and you have to do something about it. I get it. But your defense has been so versatile the whole playoffs. Like, it's not like the game plan was flawed and Steph broke free all day.
Right.
The game plan was there. It just didn't work out. I didn't think we have to completely redesign how we defend the Warriors just because Steph went crazy.
And the worst part about the overreaction is that Steph doesn't have to go crazy for them to beat you. That it's not like it's a team where like the Bucks, Giannis has to almost have a triple double for the Bucks to beat you in the finals. Steph does not have to do that. He doesn't have to. So
Not
the
at
fact that
all.
they're going to double team him and stop him from getting 40 isn't going to stop Clay or Poole or Wiggins from getting 30, obviously. So
and it's easy to be a hindsight Henry, but like we're completely right.
yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened. I mean, Andrew Wiggins, you double Steph, and immediately Andrew Wiggins looked like the best player in the series.
Yes.
Like
Andrew Wiggins and Clay look like the two best players on this roster.
And Clay still is not shooting the ball that well.
No, he's not.
It's kind of similar to Tatum as far as like he's at certain points he's played well, at certain points he hasn't. But his shooting hasn't been that good the entire time.
He's had good quarters. That's it.
Right.
And Poole also has only had good quarters. But Poole hasn't had a great game yet.
But you can't like allow Clay to stay in a rhythm all game.
Right.
I mean, Boston, your role players aren't even that good, and teams make a concerted effort to keep them out of their rhythm.
Yeah.
Like, who's more of a nuclear threat than Klay Thompson?
No one in the history of basketball.
I mean, Poole has been probably the top 5 most nuclear threat all season.
Yeah, he is.
Again, another guy who's taken over still hasn't even played well.
Exactly. Like, and that's what's really scary about the series now. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later, but Game 6 Clay, I mean, he's called Game 6 Clay for a reason.
Like, again, I completely understand being all over Steph, but you can't do that at the expense of Poole having a fucking island anytime he wants.
Yeah.
That, like, you're going to get overwhelmed because the Warriors are going to get great shots every time down. And
this is one really cool thing about Draymond, and I know Draymond's been getting a lot of hate, rightfully so, because he's fouled out of almost every game. He's been airballing threes. He hasn't made a three the whole series. I get that. But if you double Steph on Draymond's screens, Draymond is the best passer on the floor for the Warriors. When he gets it and he gets it on that roll and he's in the paint, he makes a good play 9 out of 10 of the times. And that's what was happening at times where it wouldn't always be on the screen, but Steph may be off ball and they're kind of backed up to the, like, be ready for him to come off the screen. And they leave Draymond, and Draymond gets into the paint and hits a cutter, or he hits Clay in the corner, or he hits Wiggins down low for a post up. And all this stuff was happening off of Draymond getting in the key with no one on him. He got the floater finally that we talked about last podcast. Wide open, easy.
But again, like when guys have that much space, when a guy is getting to front of the rim before somebody stops him, he's not going to play poorly for that long.
Right.
And that's, again, shutting down Steph, which they did, because Steph was out of rhythm all game. Steph was forcing shots all game. Steph's passes, he was probably the worst passer on the team this game.
Yeah.
I mean, he was flustered.
Had a lot of assists, but they weren't. He was making a lot of passes that were like nothing passes, just trying to get it out of his hands passes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you did the job. You had him flustered, but everyone else went off.
And that could happen every single night. Like, this wasn't like something strange. If as long as we lock Steph up, we're not worried about Wiggins and Clay and Poole. You should be worried about Wiggins, Clay, and Poole. You should be.
Again, Boston, this is, I don't know if it's Udoka really. I don't know. I mean, it would be on Udoka, but they could have gone toe-to-toe the entire series. And they couldn't. They didn't want to commit to that.
So let's talk about the good things that the Warriors did in this game. Aside from, the other players getting off, Wiggins obviously was fantastic. 26 points, 13 rebounds. Wiggins is really kind of playing the power forward role in this series, where Draymond can really kind of focus on being point forward and making passes and using his fouls, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then, they're kind of go small. They've been starting Porter for the last 2 games over Looney, and not really for long, but I can tell it's for a different look. I think it's to start with more pace and more spacing to start the game. And it's been working. First game, I didn't see it working at first, right? We mentioned that.
It looked like a bad move,
But I think Looney coming in after like at the same time that Boston makes their subs kind of gives them a little more it's like a pseudo depth move for Golden State because they come in with more size while Boston kind of goes small at that time, because it's usually when Grant Williams comes in for one of the bigs, but then but Golden State brings in Looney at that same time. So they go big while Boston goes small, and then they'll start small while Boston starts big, which you would think wouldn't have a good advantage, but it actually has shown to in this series so far. I would think he does it again in Game 6.
Yeah,
you think
he
so?
Has to.
Yeah,
he has to. At this point, there's nothing really for Kerr to adjust.
right.
I mean, at this point, maybe they play through Wiggins a little more. Maybe they don't. Honestly, I really couldn't tell you, but the team is so in tune that it's not really about like a specific change for them.
Yeah, and listen,
they almost make it seamlessly by themselves.
They do, and the thing is, they shot terribly last night as a team. Clay hit 5 threes. I think Poole hit 2. Poole hit 3. 2 and in the half court.
A prayer, yeah.
Yeah, so he hit 3, and then Gary Payton hit 1. Everyone else was 0 for. Wiggins has shot like garbage this entire series from 3.
From 3, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 0 for 6, and they're wide open. It's not like he's trying to take tough shots. He's wide open, missing them. Porter is missing wide open corner threes, wide open. Steph really wasn't open the whole game. Like him being 37 feet.
Yeah.
Right. Him being 37 feet from the basket doesn't mean he's open. But and even Poole has missed some open ones, I would say, for him. Some that I would consider Poole to make 6 out of 10 times. He's missed easy ones. And they still beat Boston. What's up? You gonna say something?
I just think it was the defense.
Right. That's what I was gonna get into next. They're swarming the drives, and they are prepared for the kickouts from Boston. A lot of their steals are coming from them forcing Tatum and Brown to force their way into the paint and being ready for the kickouts, all the kickouts. Gary Payton stole, I think, 3 kickouts in this game, or deflected 2 or 3 of them. Draymond has gotten a few. Clay has, and Boston's guards, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Derek White, they drive really hard, and a lot of times they're really not looking to get layups. They're looking to drive and dish and drive and pull a defender and dish. And Warriors are staying home, not letting them pull a lot of help on the drives, and just being ready to get deflections. And they're getting them, and the fast breaks look great.
The Celtics are maybe getting exposed as not as versatile offensively as they seem.
Okay.
Because this
Why
game,
is that, you think?
Because Golden State did a really good job. To me, the problem for Boston became we can't drive on people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, Jaylen Brown was not going to beat whoever was checking him the whole series.
Right.
And Boston was getting that luxury for probably every game up until this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Tatum in certain points would just get a shot over anyone. Smart will play well, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, Golden State's staying in front. The drives aren't there.
Right.
All of a sudden, I mean, Tatum is just playing to the refs.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Brown is completely flustered, jumping in the air and practically landing before he's getting rid of the ball.
Yeah.
And I started really noticing, like, wow, Boston kind of plays like Dallas.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Just with two Lucas.
And that's what hasn't worked for them.
Right.
Hasn't worked for them enough.
Right. And that's also where Wiggins shined the most.
Like,
if you're gonna play like that, Wiggins is gonna play well.
Exactly. You allow Wiggins to just match up toe to toe.
Right.
I would have told you that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And Tatum and Brown, like it's almost like Kerr baited their worst instincts out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because with 5 games into the series, Tatum's turnover problems haven't improved. They haven't, been limited. He hasn't became more clean with the ball.
Oh.
It's still the same. Smart is still throwing what are you doing passes.
Yep.
And Brown is like a combination of the two.
Yeah. I think Brown is a little bit better because he'll just force a shot before he will turn the ball over most of the time. Like, oh, I could turn it over, or I could just take this bad shot. Let me take the bad shot. Which is fine. You'd rather have shots than, layups for the other team, but it's still just negative.
Like Golden State, now thinking back to the series, Golden State had so many issues that you could see that adjustments would be made.
Mm-hmm.
Wiggins having games missing a lot of open shots, that wasn't going to keep happening. You could see that coming.
Yeah.
Draymond limiting his turnovers.
Yeah.
Well, he's playing in a ton of space.
Right. And then the 2 games they lost, they just had 2 horrible quarters. Both fourth quarters of those losses were disgusting. Yeah. Terrible. And that's something, obviously, you can get better. Having a bad quarter, yeah. And, this game, they chose to have the not so great quarter in the third quarter, but every other quarter, they were dominant. In fourth quarter, they were, championship. That was a championship level quarter for the Warriors. Fourth quarter of Game 5. Yeah. And scary, man. Scary for Boston because, like we said, these guys really have not shot that great yet. The Warriors still have not shot that great.
And the problem is, you could see it coming.
Yeah.
You could see it coming because Boston's out of options now.
Right.
Now Boston is down to everybody has to play great.
Mm-hmm.
And the series is not over. A lot of people are kind of sure that Golden State getting them out of there this next game. I don't really think so.
I've seen a lot of people sure that Golden State can't beat them 3 times in a row.
I still don't think it's going to be easy either way for Golden State.
No, it's not. And I don't think they think, look, we're going to go to Boston and this is going to be easy. I think they're definitely going out there really focused.
I mean,
really focused.
Boston for as well as Golden State has played these last 2 games. Boston's been right there.
They have, yeah.
And to me, you saw the Game 1 quarter, you saw the Game 3, you saw it in some stretches in the third quarter of this game. Boston could take control.
They can.
It's just about staying consistent, staying in front of people, and Golden State is showing the experience.
Yeah, they're showing the experience for sure. And I think they're showing that, like I mentioned about Game 4, they don't necessarily need everyone to play good, but Boston better hope nobody plays good. Like that. That's kind of, I feel like that's where they are right now. Like we don't
Yeah.
need Steph to get 40. We don't need Clay to shoot amazing, but you better hope they don't, because if they do, it's a wrap for sure. So
I
great
will
series,
say,
man.
like, it really has been.
Mhm.
But now, to me, Boston cannot allow Andrew Wiggins to play that well. Like, there's no chance they even come close to a win if Andrew Wiggins is one of the best players on the floor.
But you can say that about anybody on the Warriors.
Nah. Clay doesn't have that impact.
But well, he doesn't do the same things. But if Clay is playing really good, the impact Clay, like really good Clay, has is almost as deadly as Wiggins. Because really good Clay is in the 30s. Otherwise, he's
I just
just
think
playing
they can
okay.
match, like, Clay, Poole, even Steph. They have a chance to match that.
Yeah.
Wiggins is the only one that could dominate on both ends. He'll cut a bunch of times, he'll hit a bunch of shots, he'll dunk on people.
Yeah.
You can't let his versatility dictate like how easy everything is for the Warriors.
So I agree with you, but the problem is they only have one chance to do this, right?
Right.
So what is your game plan going in saying, look, we can't try anything because this is it. So do you say, look, let's keep Wiggins out of the paint, let's lock Wiggins up, let's switch Wiggins off of our guys, and then what do you say if we're ready for Wiggins in the paint, then we're not out at the three at somebody? Like, are we willing to risk that for this last game, or are you more willing to keep doubling Steph, keep Clay taking tougher shots, and just hope that Wiggins doesn't beat you? Like, it got to be hard for a coach going into an elimination game against the Warriors with so many ways to beat you. I mean, they've showed you that Wiggins can beat you, but let's say Wiggins doesn't play great, and
He's
Steph and Clay
liable to go to sleep.
play great. He is, but then let's say Steph and Clay play great, and every time Steph is out, Poole goes on a pool party run every single quarter he's in there. Then where are you at that point? You know, it just got to be really tough as an elimination game, saying we got one chance to make a right decision of who to stop, and it's gonna be tough.
I think Boston is past that now. Again, you can't lose any more games. I wouldn't overreact to little things like that. I'd go into it straight up like they were earlier in the series. Like, you look to put Smart and White on Steph as much as possible. You look to battle, you look to fight through screens, switch if you have to. But like you said, there's really nothing they could do at this point. The Warriors are too explosive, they're too dynamic, they move the ball way too well.
Yeah.
The adjustment is it has to come from the two-star players.
Do you like that, or does that scare you at all?
I'm worried it's not going to happen.
Okay. I'm worried if Tatum and Brown play back against the wall ball and they like try to take over, which they can. I don't know if it wins the game, but they can be the best two players on the court. Are we going to get the turnovers? Are we going to get the record-breaking turnovers? Are we going to get smart shots? Are we going to get Robert Williams any lobs? Like, does all that go away if they're playing to win the game? I've seen Tatum do this. I've seen Tatum try really hard to win a game and it completely backfire.
100%.
So that worries me. I think that this is a big moment. I think these guys are professionals, so I don't think that happens. But if it does happen, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be an ugly game on both ends.
You know what I will say? They swept Brooklyn. They beat Milwaukee in 7.
Yeah.
Then they beat who did they just beat?
Miami.
Miami in 7.
Yeah.
19 games plus now we got 24 games, 24 playoff games.
Yeah.
The turnover problems are not going anywhere. Let's be honest.
Right.
that ship, if Boston by some God's miracle stops turning the ball over, and we've talked about it. I mean, the Miami series, good Lord, we talked about it almost the whole time.
Yeah.
It's driving into traffic, not holding the ball strong. It's throwing a pass that makes no sense. Again, it's taking an extra dribble drive rather than making the early kick out. All things they could fix.
Mm-hmm.
But we're 25 games in and we're still throwing games away doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. If they limit that, they take 2 games and Golden State, is going to be crying.
Right.
Because Boston's unbeatable if they limit that.
I've said it before, yeah. Especially if Boston doesn't turn the ball over that much, the only way Warriors can beat them is if everybody's shooting the ball, which is possible. Right.
Which hasn't
I think
happened.
Warriors, right. It has not happened. And it hasn't even come close to happening.
No.
So I would take my chances there. But how do you tell guys to not turn the ball over? And do they stop being aggressive? Who knows?
Here's what I'll say. To me, the only thing they could do now is we have to speed up the possessions. Like,
okay.
the screener rolls are so fucking slow when Tatum runs them.
Yeah, they are.
And it's falling back. The reason I called him KD this last game, it's because we're screening. We're not even trying to roll. We're literally just doing it for the switch.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing it for the switch. You're not battling for positioning. And now you're going toe-to-toe with the best athlete the Warriors have.
Right.
Who blocked his shot the same way he was doing KD a few rounds ago.
Yep.
Like, the effort isn't there when we're taking 10, 15 seconds to get the shot off.
Right.
It's got to be fast. We have to speed it up. Brown, go. Stop trying to fucking cross somebody over. Just go.
Mm-hmm.
Tatum, you're getting the ball, jab, you're shooting it. We don't need a jab 6 times. That's really their only the only adjustment they definitively can and should make.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, it's going to be a toss up either way.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the other issue is, can the Celtics if Brown and Tatum play well, or even if they play as good as they did just this past game. Brown didn't shoot that great, but they didn't play that bad. If they play as good as they do this game, who else can they get involved? If they have to play more aggressive, who's going to get involved and help them? Smart played pretty good this game. It's weird because, to me, all of Smart's scoring has been kind of quiet. I've noticed him hitting a 3 here and there. I've noticed a couple layups or little post ups he does, but it doesn't seem like he made 7 field goals in this game. It doesn't feel like it.
And again, with Boston, it's always a surprise.
It is.
That's why they've been so good.
Yeah, but it also makes it hard to sleep at night if you're Udoka, because you don't know.
Oh, again,
Derek
Boston
White was
is beyond. If you're looking for sleep at night, the series is over at that point.
Derek White was unplayable in this game at times, which is sad. Grant Williams, I haven't seen Grant Williams hit 2 threes in a game the whole series.
It was such a subtle, let's just stay in front. We know he wants to spin. We know he wants to bump people. White shouldn't be driving past people all the time.
Yeah.
And you made that adjustment. Now he looks worse than Gary Payton out there.
Gary Payton's been playing great too.
For sure.
Great. Now I will say this, and I'm not hating. I'm not, I'm not like a. I think maybe our listeners think I'm like a big Warriors fan. I like the Warriors, but I'm not like a mega fan of them. But I will say, in my opinion, a lot of the games in Boston was allowed to be a little more physical than the Warriors, just a little bit. I think Horford, a lot of time, if Horford gets switched on somebody, he will hold them with both hands to keep them in front of him. It was a lot of hand checking, a lot of hip checking by Boston. Not saying it was dirty. I'm just saying it was just called that way, that it was available. I think this game is going to come down to being who's more physical for the most part. I don't know if the Warriors can't get in foul trouble in this game. Boston has not really had a foul trouble issue the whole series, but if Steph gets in foul trouble, if Wiggins gets in foul trouble, I think it's going to be a really rough night for the Warriors. And I think that they're very liable to do that, because a few times they were allowed to get physical, everybody got in foul trouble, especially Draymond, obviously, and Steph. Which game was, I think it was game 3. Steph had, no, I think it was a game. Yeah. Steph had like 4 fouls in 3 quarters in game 3 or something like that.
3.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes in this game.
Another point I'll make from this last game is it hurt Boston a lot that they came out kind of lacking focus.
Mm-hmm.
That can't happen if we're going to be watching 2 games instead of 1.
Gotcha.
They can't come if they come out the way they just did, and they were lucky to kind of get back into it and make it a game.
Yeah,
Golden State is going to kill them if they do that again.
In this game, Jaylen Brown had taken 8 shots before Jason Tatum took his first shot in game 5. Jaylen Brown took 8 first quarter shots.
There's going to be a lot to discuss with Tatum's play after these finals.
Like what?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm not ready to commit to that conversation yet.
Why Tatum, though? You don't think Brown taking 8 first quarter shots is a little much?
Brown's struggles have been very simple. It's just been like either playing well or not.
Yeah.
Hasn't really been a play style issue. Hasn't been a need to get him more involved issue. It's been very simple, either making shots, either making good decisions or not.
Mm-hmm.
With Tatum, it's different, much different.
I'm curious to hear how you feel about it, but yeah, I don't think I have anything else to go over in this one. Do you?
No, man, I'm gonna stick with my prediction. Warriors in 7.
I was sticking with mine. Warriors in 6. I think Warriors will close it out. I think they will. I'm not saying it's a lock, but I think they will. Honestly, I think if it goes to 7, I think Boston wins in 7. Still.
And that would be crazy, but I need Steph to go get this finals MVP.
This is the game.
This is the game.
If he has a good game in this one, he gets it for sure.
I know. He just can't do. He can't do what he just did again. Just not that.
But that is the scariest part for Boston.
100%.
Game 6 Clay is a real thing, number 1. And Steph cannot shoot that bad ever again. He's never shot that bad. He's never not shot a 3 for the last 4 years. So this is going to be, you got to feel a little bit scared. Like, look, it's like saying, the killer missed me the first time, but he never misses. So chances are next time.
Hey, again, Boston's in a good spot to me. I agree with everything you're saying, but the immense pressures on this game alone. if
one
you
game at a time still.
if you handle this game at home, your favorable position, ideally,
Yeah.
all the pressures, the pressures on Steph and Clay and Draymond next game.
Yeah, but they're in the Bay. You think there's more pressure there? I think they would prefer that.
For them specifically, yeah, just because they're like a dynasty and we're back to it without KD. Last time y'all were here without KD, like we didn't forget what LeBron and Kyrie were doing.
Yeah.
So, we can't blow another finals lead at this point.
Right.
I don't care how it happens.
They're only up 1. not up 2.
I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see what happens, to be honest.
Me too, man. I wish it would just come. I want to watch it so bad. I want to experience it so bad.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to talk about any other sports today, or just wait till the finals is over, then we'll get into everything else?
We'll catch up on a lot of stuff.
All right, cool. Anyway, thanks for listening as always. Subscribe as always, follow us as always, all that good stuff. Share, hit us up, whatever. And we'll probably talk to you guys after next week. So until then.